Hey everybody, welcome to another Wacky Wednesday with the man Leek. I am John, as always. Today on the Wacky Wednesday, we're going to be doing something a little not quite normal, maybe something you've never really heard of, in fact. If you're not overly familiar with Magic Online, you probably have never heard of this format. It's called Momir Basic. So Momir Basic uses a 60-card constructed deck, and that deck must be 60 basic lands, nothing else. In addition to that, you have a avatar called Momir Vig. So that sounds kind of strange. Without knowing any of the rules, it doesn't really make sense how a 60-card deck of nothing but lands could really do anything. And it all comes to that Momir Vig avatar. So the Momir Vig avatar begins in your command zone, just like a commander, and it says pay X, discard a card, you get a token that is a copy of a creature costing X mana, X being the converted mana cost. So, random creature means any creature from the history of Magic that's on Magic Online, of course, which is almost every creature ever. So if I pay 1 mana and throw away a card, which would be a basic land because that's all I have, I would get a random 1 mana creature from the history of Magic. 2 mana, I get a 2 mana creature. So you can see how this fits into Wacky Wednesday, I think. It's a pretty random format. I could get an amazing 1 mana creature that is just going to stomp over my opponent quickly and win me the game. I could get a 1 mana creature that says, I have to sacrifice a creature or else I have to sacrifice that one. And if it's the first creature, it's just going to go away. I'm going to pay a mana for nothing. So it does get pretty random, but that's not the whole thing. It's not 100% luck. It's actually like maybe 50 or 60% luck. A lot of it really comes down to the combat math, very intelligently using your creature's activated abilities, things like that. There's no instants or sorceries, obviously, so there's no bluffing. I know exactly what my opponent has. And so it really comes down to thinking very carefully about your blocks, thinking very carefully about your attacks, thinking very carefully about what abilities you have, what abilities they have, etc. It can be luck-based. If I never get a flyer and they get nothing but flyers, I'm probably just going to lose. But a lot of games really come down to a big stalled board and very careful combat math and very careful planning with what you're going to do. I have some time, so I'm just going to go over a couple quick strategies just to help out if anybody's interested in ever playing Momir Basic. Even though your deck is 60 lands, you don't want 12, 12, 12, 12, and 12 lands. You actually want a lot more mountains and swamps because a lot of activated abilities in Magic's history are red and black. Fire breathing is a big one, of course, and a lot of the good abilities are red and black. There's not quite as many good green, white, and blue abilities. In addition, land walk is a pretty big thing from Magic's history, and forest walk and island walk are some incredibly popular land walks, especially on big, huge blue creatures. Island walk is very bad for you. If you have an island out and they play, an 8/8 island walk, you're just going to lose. That thing's just going to stomp right over you. So you want to play a lot more mountains and a lot more swamps, and you want to play them early. You want to play an island or a plains or a forest only if you have a good reason to do so. So keep that in mind. My deck is 20/20 swamps and mountains, 8 forests, and then I think 6 and 6 gets to 60 islands and plains. In addition, you don't want to play a creature every single turn. You have to kind of decide what level of mana you want to get up to, and generally you want to get to 8 mana creatures. There are good 9 mana, 10 mana, 15 mana creatures out there, but the biggest percentage of good creatures sits at 8 mana. To get to 8 mana, you do have to skip a couple of turns. If you just play a land, tap that land, discard a card to get a creature, you're actually going to run out of cards in your hand before you get to 8. So what you actually want to do is if you're on the play, you want to wait until turn 3 to play your first creature. If you're on the draw, because you get an extra draw, you want to play your first creature on turn 2. There's some people who do like to play a turn 1 creature and then skip their turn 2, but I'm not a big fan of that. Sometimes you can get a mana accelerant on 1, but a lot of the times you just get a boring vanilla 1/1 for 1 that is going to do nothing for your game. So that's really the basic strategy of Momir. There's not too much else to the basic playing of it, it really does come down to making very intelligent combat decisions and very intelligent ability decisions. So that, I think, is a good overview of Momir. I'm going to jump into this daily. This is a daily, which means that it runs at a specified time. The Momir Basic dailies only run Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 12:30 in the afternoon Eastern. So if you do ever want to play Momir in a daily tournament, you do have to play at one of those 3 times. There are 8-man single elimination queues that fire as soon as 8 people join, and there's also 1 versus 1 queues. As soon as 2 people join, you can play a single match of Momir. So this will be 4 rounds, and I'm going to jump into this daily, and I will see you when round 1 starts. All right, hey everybody, here we are ready to start our first round of Momir Vig. As you might see, we have 24 life, so you do actually get 4 extra life in this format. You don't start at 20. My opponent is deciding whether or not to play first. There's some discussion as to whether or not you want to play first or draw first. I'm a fan of playing first, although I don't know any specific stats on one way or the other. Another nice thing about Momir Vig is you don't ever have to think about mulliganing. You're going to get 6 lands regardless, and there's no reason to ever mulligan, so it kind of speeds things up a little bit. So here's my starting hand, and of course I'm going to keep it. Just waiting for my opponent to keep theirs. And you can see Momir is sitting here. So your starting life total is increased by 4, pay X, discard a card, put a token, and that's actually pretty important. All of the creatures are tokens, so they never go to your graveyard. If they ever get bounced back to your hand, they're gone for good. If you ever get a flip card, it's never going to flip. Double-faced card, it's never going to turn over. So yeah, I will keep. My opponent is playing first, so they should play a land and pass. So I'm getting the draw, which means I'm going to play a creature on turn 2. So my opponent's taking a pretty long time to play here. I'm betting they're double queuing. Alright, so I will play a mountain, and I will pass the turn. So as I said, you typically want to keep your islands and your plains and your forests back until you need them for some specific creature. You don't want to be giving up that early island walk. So my opponent probably, won't play a creature here, but I'm going to play a creature here. So we're going to drop a swamp, we're going to activate Momir, pay 2, and we're going to throw away this island. And what do we get? Another way to speed up Momir Vig is to make sure that you always yield to the Momir Vig avatar. Otherwise you're going to have to hit OK every single time somebody activates it. And that's going to actually lose you a fair bit of time. This guy's actually going to lose a fair bit of time just because he is taking so long on every decision. If we do end up stalling out, I'm going to have a pretty big advantage on my time. It seems like Momir Vig might be one of those things where you can double queue and just sort of, bide your time, but it's not great. So I get a Gatecreeper Vine, which lets me go and find a gate. We are playing 60 basic lands, so I don't have a gate. Can I find a basic land with it? I can find a basic land with it and put it into my hand, so I will do that. It's not that big of a benefit. I could get to 9 now, but I don't really want to be at 9. There's an awful lot of creatures in Magic's history that are 9/9s for 9 that do nothing. They don't even have trample or anything. Not all that great. There's a lot better at 8. So he gets Lin Civi, Defiant Hero. Pay X, tap, search a card for a Rebel card, so that doesn't matter. Pay 3, put target Rebel card from your graveyard onto your library. Doesn't matter. So that card is just a vanilla 1/3. And a 1/3 is pretty good. It can't attack into my 1/2, but it can block possibly my turn 3 creature that I might get here. Well, I'm totally okay with my opponent's time just ticking down on every single upkeep step. I'll play a mountain here, activate Momir. Another thing to do is always activate Momir first. Haste creatures are a thing, and getting a haste creature out and being able to attack with it is pretty good. So we got Venerated Teacher. It's a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, put 2 level counters on each creature you control with level up. My creatures don't have level up, so this is just a 2/2. So we'll pass the turn. So my opponent's 4-drop is Flametongue Kavu. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 4 damage to target creature. So that's going to blow up my 2/2, unfortunately. So we'll drop a Swamp, pay 4, discard a Plains, and we get Brass Talon Chimera, 2/2 first strike. I can sacrifice it to put a 2/2 counter on target creature and give it first strike. So I could make my wall a 2/4 first striker, which is pretty decent. But I'm not going to do that until I absolutely need to put it on something. Right now, this blocks and kills the Flametongue Kavu. So his 5-drop is a Molder Beast, 5/3 trample whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard, so that's never going to happen. Molder Beast gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So he's just going to pass the turn here. His Kavu would die, and his soldier here, or rebel rather, I could just block with the vine. Alright, so back to my turn. I'm going to drop a Swamp, and we're going to see what we get for 5. We get a Rubbleback Rhino, 3/4 hexproof. Not amazing, but it's okay. Can block that Molder Beast and kill it. I could even make it a 5/6 first strike by sacking Brass Talon Chimera here. If he attacks, it could even be what I do. Being hexproof means it can't be targeted by any abilities. He gets Phyrexian Snow Crusher. It's a 6/5 that attacks every turn if possible, and he can pay 1 and a snow mana, and there's no snow mana in this format, unless creatures produce snow mana. There are probably some, but probably not a real big deal. So he's going to come in with the Molder Beast. I think I'm going to give the Rubbleback Rhino first strike and kill the Molder Beast and just take the 4. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So we'll block there. And that's all. We'll sacrifice the Chimera. Oh, I did not read the Chimera. You have to put the 2/2 counter on target Chimera creature. That is significantly worse. So I definitely should have blocked the Kavu with the Chimera. So my Rhino and my Molder Beast are just going to trade here, and I'm going to take 4. That was a bad move. It's very important with Momir Big to make sure you read all the cards. Word by word by word. So we're going to discard a card here. Our 6-drop is Cyclops Tyrant, a 3/4 with Intimidate, and it can't block creatures with power 2 or less. I'm okay with that. So this Snow Crusher is going to come in, and it's going to be a bit of a problem. If he just attacks with it, I might need to double block to get rid of it, and that's going to put me behind. So he gets Jedit Ojanan. It is a 7-drop, and it's a vanilla 5/5. Legends was a very, very, very bad set. There were a lot of very expensive multicolored cards like this that did nothing. So in comes Phyrexian Snow Crusher. It's a 6/5. I might need to double block here. I don't want to. Does it have trample? I could just sacrifice my wall this turn. Yeah, I think I'll just block it with my wall, and then I'll block and kill the Kavu. Yeah, there's nothing he can do to save that Kavu, so I'm not quite sure why he's attacking with it. So we'll chump there, and we'll trade. We won't trade there. We'll just kill it. So I'm down a creature. Not too bad. I can maybe get something big here. So our 7-drop is going to be Shaku Endbringer. It's a flying 5/5 that can't attack if there's another creature on the battlefield, so it's never going to be attacking. And at the beginning of my upkeep, I lose 3 life. Well, that's not good, but I can exile target creature by tapping it. So I'm going to be losing 3 life a turn, but I can take anything he has off the battlefield. Not great. Not terribly great. I might, depending on what he gets, I may consider just trading this with the Snow Crusher. Losing 3 life a turn is pretty bad. Being able to kill any creature that he ever has is pretty good. We'll have to see what he plays this turn. If it's something that I need to deal with, I might just have to chump the Snow Crusher again. So what's his 8-drop? Scaled Worm, just a 7/6. I'm okay with that. So he's going to attack in with both of those. Interesting. I could trade everything on my board, and he would be left with a worm, and I would have my 8-drop. I think that might be what I do. So yeah, we'll just trade everything. It would be exceptionally bad if I got a card that didn't stay on the battlefield for some reason, and then his Scaled Worm just gets through. That's a really good card if it didn't have that 3 life a turn loss. If I had have let the cat through, I would have gone to 14 and then to 11. And by the time I could have gotten rid of something, he would have had another 8-drop out. Not sure what the right move would have been there. I also could have traded this next turn and then tapped it while it was going to trade to kill something. But oh well. So those will all trade. He's left with a 7/6 and a 1/3, and I'm left with nothing. But I'm about to get my 8-drop. And my 8-drop is Sisters of Stone Death. It's a 7/5, so it can block and kill the worm, or trade with the worm. I can pay a green. Target creature blocks it if able. I can pay black and a green to exile target creature blocking or blocked by Sisters of Stone Death. Or I can pay 2 and a black to put a creature card exiled onto the battlefield under my control. So that's not going to be applicable because anything exiled in this format is a token and would just disappear. So basically I can pay black and a green to kill things blocking or blocked by this. It's an okay ability. I would need to have a green mana available, and I would need to be spending 2 mana a turn or keeping 2 mana up a turn, which means I would need to be playing 6 drops, which isn't terribly good. Probably just trade this with his worm. Yep, I'll just trade with the worm. So we're now virtually top decking. We are top decking 8 drops. He gets Sphinx of the Steel Wind, 6/6 flying, first strike, vigilance, lifelink, pro red, and green. I essentially lose now if I don't get something incredible to kill that. Because he is going to go way up in life total. I'm going to go way down in life total. So I could potentially go for a 9-drop, or I could just go for an 8-drop. I think because I'm just going to lose, I'm just going to risk it and go for the 9-drop. Hope I get something really good. Let's discard our swamp. We get Body of Jukai. It's an 8/5 with trample. It has Soul Shift, but that doesn't matter. So that's not good. And this guy's pro-green, right? Yep, so I can't even attack with this. So I'm going to 13, he's going to 30. So Soul Shift is basically when this creature dies, you can return a spirit card with CMC 8 or less from your graveyard to your hand. Obviously, my graveyard has no spirits. All right, so in for 6. I go to 13. He goes to 30. And then what's he get? Another flyer. He gets Bloodfire Colossus. Pay a red, sack it to deal 6 damage to each creature and each player. And it wouldn't even hit his Sphinx. So he can sweep the board and deal an extra 6 to me. Alright, come on, good 9-drop. Crosan Colossus. It's a 9/9. Nothing else. Well, if I live a turn, I might just do an 8-drop. Actually, there is one 9-drop that could significantly save me. Blazing Archon is 6 white, white, white. It's a 5/6 flyer, and it says creatures can't attack you. So I might just do the 9-drop just to hope for that card. I have no idea how many 9-drops there are, but it's probably a relatively low chance. But we got to do what we got to do. So he can take me to 1 here. Oh, can he actually just win? No, he can't just win, because I can block his Lin Civi. So I go to 7. He goes to 36. And actually, Blazing Archon wouldn't even save me because he could just kill it with that. Force of Nature. At the beginning of your upkeep, Force of Nature deals 8 damage to you unless you play green, 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 which he's not going to be able to pay. So he's going to take 8 damage next turn. So that's something, right? Oh, he even left up the red mana just to see what I get. Well, I think we're going to do 9 just to see what we get. But he can probably kill basically whatever it is. So that's one of the aspects of Momir. First person to a really big flyer can often win if their opponent doesn't get a flyer out. So I got Myojin of Life's Web. 8/8 enters the battlefield with a divinity counter on it if you cast it from your hand, which I didn't. Indestructible. It's not indestructible, and I can't so it's just an 8/8. It is a vanilla 8/8. So I assume he's just gonna sack the Bloodfire here. No? Alright. Well, he can sack it next turn and still kill me. So he takes 8. Goes all the way down to 28. Then he's going to swing in for 6, and then he's going to blow up the Bloodfire. And that will be game. Down to 1. Boom goes the Bloodfire Colossus. And we're toast. So that was a fun game. Sphinx of the Steel Wind is a pretty good card. As you can see, the 9-drops aren't that great. A lot of them are 9 mana because of some other reason. Often they're morph cards, or they are cards that have other ways that you're probably supposed to cast them. So I think we will stay away from those 9-drops. If you can get to 10, there's some good Eldrazi, but 8 is really where you want to be. So the nice thing, of course, is there's no sideboarding. You just jump right back in. There's nothing to sideboard. Yeah, so we'll see how match 2 goes. Or, sorry, game 2. I do imagine my opponent's probably going to take the full time. They must be double queuing or must be doing something other than playing just this game here. Alright, we're finally back in. I want to play first. I want to keep. And we'll see how long our opponent takes. Ah, there we go. Maybe their other queue is done. So we will play our fancy unhinged mountain here. Say go. So we're on the play, so we have to wait until turn 3 to play a creature. So we're going to go swamp and go. So his turn 2 drop is Tallow Wisp. Whenever you cast, so that doesn't matter. So that's just a 1/3. Him and his 1/3s. They're good blockers. I get a 3-drop. My 3-drop is Coral Barrier. Alright. So I get 2 creatures for the cost of 1. And you can see the squid has Island Walk, so if I was able to, or if he played a land, I would just be able to get a free 1 damage each turn. So he's probably going to avoid playing an island. Shauku's minion? Sure. Pay red and a black, deal 2 damage to target white creature. That's pretty narrow. But it's a 2/2. It's alright. I can still block it forever, though. So let's see what the 4-drop is. 4-drop is Crowned Ceratok. It's a 4/3 with Trample. And each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it has Trample. So a 4/3 for 4 is pretty good. Depending on what his 4-drop is, I could consider attacking in with it. It would die to these 2 double blocking it, but 2 for 1 is okay. 3/3 as Canker Abomination enters the battlefield, choose an opponent. Canker Abomination enters the battlefield with a -1/-1 counter on it for each creature that player controls. So that's good. It's just a 3/3 for 4. Not too much of a problem. What's our 5-drop? Our 5-drop is Gerard's Irregulars. 4/2 Trample Haste. It's a terrible blocker. I might just attack in with it. Could attack in with both. I can't block his Canker Abomination, but I can block the rest. As long as he doesn't get a hasty guy, I'm pretty okay. Yeah, let's attack in with both of my trample guys. Let's get some trades and some damage going. I don't think he'll take 8. So he will do that. I will kill the 3/3 gladly. So he's going to take 2. That's going to die, that's going to die, that's going to die, that's going to die, and he's going to be left with a 1/3. I'll be left with a 1/3 and a 1/1. Sure, why not? So his 5-drop is Thunderblust. It is a haste creature. 7/2. Jeez. His trample as long as it has a -1/-1 counter on it. 7/2. Do I just double block that? I think I just double block it and kill it. I don't want a 7/2 running around. And it has Persist, but because it hits the graveyard and disappears, it doesn't actually get to come back. So he's ahead with his 1/3, which isn't terribly a problem. My 6-drop is Niv Mizzet the Firemind. So I can tap it to draw a card, and whenever it draws a card, I get to actually damage creature or player, and it's a flyer. It's a pretty solid card. So any X1 that he ends up with, and I don't think he'll end up with that many at the mana that he's at now, I could just easily kill. 5/4 with Trample, sure. So I get to draw a card, and so I will just damage him. I will play a mountain and see what we get. So our 6-drop is Gabriel Angelfire, 4/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose Flying, First Strike, Trample, or Rampage 3. Gabriel Angelfire gains that ability until your next upkeep. So Rampage is a very old mechanic. Rampage 3 becomes blocked. It gets +3/+3 until end of turn. So that's if it blocks. Has wings, doesn't seem to fly unless I choose it. That's kind of a pain. It's just too busy sitting down, apparently. So Flying, First Strike, Trample, or Rampage. So I give it Flying and just attack in, I think. I could give it First Strike and it would be able to kill that Tanadon. Well, we'll have to think about that. I think I might just attack in with Niv Mizzet here. Nothing he can do about it. He'll have to take 4. I could just trade Angelfire here with the Pterodon. Depends on what they play. Gargantuan Gorilla, 7/7. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice a forest. If you sacrifice a snow forest, if you don't sacrifice a forest, deals 7 damage to you. So he's going to take 7 next turn. Tap it, deals damage equal to its power to another target creature. Wow. Okay. So I can bash in for 8 overhead next turn, taking him to 9. This gorilla is going to take him to 2. I'm actually going to get to deal another damage with Niv Mizzet. So I just take this 5, and we may have it. So I'm going to give it flying. Click on it to select its ability. Gains flying. Deal 1 damage to their face. So hopefully there's nothing that just wipes the board. Because I'm going to play first just in case I get a hasty flyer or something. Can this deal to player? No, it's just a target creature. Alright. So what do we get for 8? For 8 we get Avatar of Hope. If you have 3 or less life, it doesn't matter. So it's a 4/9 that can block any number of creatures. That's pretty good, and it's a flyer. So I bash in for 8 here, taking him to 8. His gorilla is going to take him to 1. And then I win when I draw with Niv Mizzet, I believe. Oh, of course, he just kills Niv Mizzet. Right. I think I missed something. So not only the gorilla dies as well. I don't have the card review window. Oh well, whatever. He's at 1, and we have 2 flyers, so we're in a good spot. Unless he sweeps the board. Avatar of Slaughter. All creatures have double strike, so I just win here, because I've got 2 flyers with double strike now. So he's going to get in for 12? Sure. I will give my Angel Fire flying. Alright, there we go. He conceded. So we won that. Niv Mizzet was a pretty good draw. Those Gargantuan Gorillas were a very bad draw for him. Dealing 7 because he didn't have a forest was pretty bad. So we'll just submit and jump right back in. I will keep, of course. I'm playing second, so I'm going to get to play a 2-drop. Lead with a mountain and say go. Let's drop a swamp and see what we get for 2. Mana Accelerant would be nice. We get Wall of Roots, which is actually a Mana Accelerant. It's an 0/5, and I can put a -0/-1 counter on it once a turn to get green mana. So I can actually get a 4-drop next turn. And then I can get a 6-drop, and then I can get an 8-drop. Oh, he played something that didn't stick around. What did he get? He got Tidewalker. It must have been something that required an island or something, otherwise you had to sacrifice it. So that's not good. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to take a counter on him for 4. Discard an island, and we get a Lumberknot. It's a 1/1 hexproof. Whenever a creature dies, it gets +1/+1 counter. Good old Innistrad card there. Probably won't be attacking with it, unfortunately. A 4/4 for, or a 1/1 for 4 is not great. So he gets Emberwild Caliph, Flying Trample 4/4, attacks each turn of able. Whenever it deals damage, you lose that much life. That's a bad race. Alright, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Discard a swamp, I guess. Our 5-drop is Spiketail Drake, 3/3 flyer. Sacrifice it and counter target spell. That doesn't terribly do me much good. So interestingly, I could attack in for 1 here. He could block it and kill it, but he'd take 4 damage. And my Lumbernaut's not going to be doing much else, so I'm just going to do that. Yeah, sure, take 4. Fine by me. So his 5-drop is Savage Thallid. 5/2 gets a Spore counter each turn, remove 3 to make a Saproling, and sack a Saproling to regenerate it. Sure. So I could trade my Drake here, but I don't think I will. I'll just take the 4. He'll take another 4. So I'll go to 20. He'll go to 16. It's fine by me. Drop a Swamp. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Discard a Plains. We get Ephemeron. 4/4 flyer. I could discard a card to return it to my hand, which would be bad because it's a token. I should have attacked in for 3 there, probably. I'll see if he attacks with the Thallid. I'll trade the Drake for the Thallid, I think. Let's see what he has. Face of Fear. 3/4. Discard a card. Face of Fear gets Fear. It's not that good. Interesting. So he's going to go to 12. I'm going to go to 16 if I let that through. I could just go block. He would go to 12. I would stay at 20. The board would be clean except for my wall and his Face of Fear. I'm okay with that. He probably wanted to get that Caliph out of play as quickly as possible. So we will go 7-drop. And for 7, we get Borborygmos, the original one. 6/7 trample. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. That's actually going to make my Wall of Roots stick around if I attack with him first. His 7-drop is a flyer, unfortunately. It's a 5/5 that he can pay to untap. He's probably not going to be doing that. So this is whenever he deals damage to a player. So if I attack in, he's going to block, I imagine. And I can kill his flyer. Yeah, let's get an 8-drop and then I'll think about it. I'll get rid of my Wall of Roots permanently, but oh well. So my 8-drop is Ulamog's Crusher. 8/8 attacks each turn with Annihilator 2. That's going to really start to hurt him. Annihilator is whenever this creature attacks, the defending player must sacrifice that many permanents. So he has to sacrifice 2 permanents. So he either has to sacrifice his creatures or he has to sacrifice his lands. I'm going to kill his flyer for sure. So Ulamog's Crusher is going to start coming in. He's going to have to sack lands, which is going to put him really behind, or he's going to have to sack creatures, which is really going to put him behind. Either way, he's going to be behind. And if he doesn't get something that can double block and kill it this turn, he's going to be even worse behind. Chroma, 6/6 flying first strike, vigilance, trample. So he can double block and kill it, but he's going to be behind on 2 lands, and I'm going to kill a Chroma for sure. So it has vigilance and haste, so he's just going to get in for the free 6 because he knows it's not going to stick around for long. And then he's going to be stuck back on 6 mana. I'm going to attack in first just in case I get a sweeper or something that for some reason removes or disables or something my Crusher. So we're going to swing in. Whoops, he has to swing in. Annihilator triggers. He's going to sack presumably 2 lands. There goes a swamp and a mountain. Yep, so they're sacrificed. I imagine he's going to double block here. He could just single block, I guess. Hey, he does just single block, okay. Keeps a Chroma around for a turn, maybe hoping he can get a hasty creature out or something. I get out Slipstream Serpent. Can't attack unless you control... Oh, so I have no islands, so that 8-drop just goes away. So that's unfortunate. So we'll see what his 6-drop is. His 6-drop is a 3/3. Deals 3 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. So he's not going to be able to activate that, unfortunately. So, well, my Crusher has to swing in, so let's swing in. I assume he will sack 2 lands and then block with the archers. That's going to knock him down to 4 lands. I'm really going to need to get a flyer out to block a Chroma. So let's get an 8-drop that's not going to just disappear. Liege of the Tangle. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may choose any number of target lands you control and put an Awakening counter on them. Each of those lands is an 8/8 green elemental creature. So let's see, I'm going to attack in with both of those next turn. He's going to take me to 2, unfortunately. And he's going to get a 4-drop here. It does have Trample, but without a flyer... Oh! Oh! What a top deck. So he does 3 damage to me with the Keldon Champion, and the Chroma gets in to kill me. Oh, that was really, really close, but really fun. One more turn and we might have had it. If we had anything to deal with the Chroma, we might have had it. But yeah, that was round 1 of Momir Basic Daily. I will see you guys for round 2.